Now, the UK system or regulation is hailed as one of the most comprehensive.
Yep.
How does it actually work in the UK?
It's actually a system of co-regulation, so there is some statutory legislative powers in the UK system that control TV advertising, print advertising and radio advertising. But all other areas of the marketing regulatory system are self-regulatory, so the industry itself has a body called the Portman Group, which sort of controls the regulation in these other domains. So effectively they have the industry in charge of regulating their own marketing activity.
Oh.
And obviously that creates conflicts of interest. So although the UK system is relatively comprehensive in the channels that it covers, and sort of there are very few gaps in what it does, and I guess in how it's monitored. But the problem is, with the industry being in charge of doing a lot of that regulation, there are criticisms from the public health community that tactics are being used that really, aren't in the interests or don't meet the sort of ethics of the codes.
There's also this idea that it's basically a complaints-based system. So effectively what you have is you're depending on the consumers to complain about advertising that they're offended by or they find in bad taste or whatever. So the thing is, it's almost there has to be the problem before it can be addressed. So effectively, although the codes are there and saying you're not supposed to do these things, the system is almost waiting. It's a reactive system rather than a preventive system. Whereas an alternative view, for example, in France and so forth, you might have a code of practice where it's like the loi ASEAN, which effectively says you cannot do this in your advertising, so you just can't do it. There's no room for maneuver. Whereas in the codes that are abstract, or if you like very general, they'll say it must not cause widespread offence and stuff like that. But it's hard to actually say what that is.
Well, actually, what happens in the law in the UK, they say what you're not permitted to do. So basically, there are always other things that they can try, and they keep changing the marketing tactics. But the law actually states what is permitted. You're allowed to advertise on TV. You're allowed to, talk about the provenance of the brand, but you're not allowed to talk about the strength and so on. You're only allowed to talk about the specific qualities of the product. So anything else is not permitted. So advertisers, alcohol producers, legislators, the general public know what the system is. You're only allowed to do these certain things, everything else is forbidden. So they cannot keep recreating new ways of getting around the legislation.
This is in France?
This is in France. The system is called the loi ASEAN. Now, it's been heavily challenged in the European Court of Justice by the alcohol industry and marketing industries, but it's met with the challenges because the French government have stated that it's in the public and health interests of the country to have this in place. So actually, among the public health community, probably the system that's held up is the best example in terms of controlling alcohol marketing as the loi ASEAN rather than the UK system.
So when you go and look, whether it's in Malawi or Sierra Leone or any of these places, and you look at the advertising that's coming out of these, which would be established brands that are from Diageo or whatever the organisation would be, the themes that they're using are completely the opposite of what would be allowed in a place like France. So for example, a lot of the imagery that you'll see in the ads in Sri Lanka and so forth will be all about glamour and success and social success and associations between the product. And if you'll have this lifestyle if you consume alcohol, whereas the difference in the French context would be it's very much specific to sort of the benefits and the if you like the product quality, but not about aspirational things like lifestyle and it's going to make you a powerful person or release the real you or the macho you or whatever.
Another comment about the marketing activity in developing countries is that it tends to try and impose a Western neoliberal set of values and sort of lifestyle. So it's promoting, well, be like us, live this Western lifestyle where sort of mass communications and kind of commercialism and so always wanting to do more and have more and buy more and so on.
We know already what works in terms of the advertising, but also we can pretty much see where the trend is going to be. That it's going to get a problem is going to get worse. So really, what we would like to see is that a lot of the lessons that should have been learned about tobacco marketing and so forth, alcohol marketing, it's very important that we learn some of those lessons and put new controls in place to stop sort of the same mistakes happening over again in the developing world. So
I think an important point about that is the demand from policymakers and indeed the alcohol industry is that you need the evidence. So currently there's a lot of evidence in developed countries about the influence alcohol marketing has on drinking behaviours, but there is very little evidence in developing countries, and we need research so that we can hold that up to policymakers, to NGOs, to the alcohol producers, and show, look, this marketing does cause people to drink more, it causes people to start drinking, drink more frequently, and so on, and then we can actually have the discussion about, right, how do we control this? Because at the moment they're saying the evidence is not there. We know the evidence is there in the developed world, but we need to do more research in developing countries.